Good afternoon and welcome to our webinar. We are broadcasting from Dubai, United Arab Emirates, and my name is Fawzi Bawab. It's a pleasure to be here with you today to discuss this very important topic about methodologies for continual improvement, methodologies that drive our Kaizen efforts in organizations. So if you allow me just to start with a quick introduction before we get started. This webinar is recorded and will be shared on Merck website and our YouTube channel. So it will be recorded for you if you need to come back and look at the slides again or look at our discussion. The agenda of our webinar today, it's a short webinar, and I wish we had more time to discuss, but basically we'll be discussing the importance of the discussion. Why should we discuss this topic? We will talk about the quality evolution and what has led to the continual improvement methodologies and their development. We will talk about something interesting, which is basically a tool to measure and to gauge our quality maturity. I call it the quality maturity ladder, which is a tool that will help us assess where do we stand today. Then we have the continual improvement and Kaizen mindset. And then we will go into the structured continual improvement process and discuss three different methodologies. One of them, we will refer to it as the Plan, Do, Check, Act, or the A3 methodology developed by Toyota. And then the Six Sigma methodology, which is a data-driven methodology. And then the 8 steps methodology that any team can basically take these 8 steps and then apply them at their organization. Takeaways, and then maybe we'll have a question and answer sessions. So as we get started, just allow me to brief you a little bit on our Merck Training and Consulting. So Merck Training and Consulting started in Beirut, 1958, moved to Dubai, and then we basically expanded to have different offices in the region, in Saudi, in Abu Dhabi, and we still expand in different regions. Basically, we have over 300 courses under 26 categories, and we serve our clients in the region, mainly the Middle East region and the GCC region. We have what we offer in terms of services. We have public courses, which are offered in these different regions. And then we have in-house customized courses, plus the consulting arm that basically deliver strategic and HR solutions in terms of consulting services. Our 26 categories range from typical management, leadership, project management, quality and productivity. So under each of these categories, if you check our website, you'll find a number of courses that can be offered to different levels, intermediate, advanced, or even fundamental or basic levels. Some of our courses are certified or accredited. So we have accreditation and associations with the American Society for Quality. We have the ILM. We have the Society for Human Resource Management, and a number of these organizations. We offer their training, their courses, their accreditation as well. Myself, I'm an engineer by training, so civil engineering is my bachelor's degree. I continued to focus on quality, and I did my master's in industrial engineering with focus on total quality management. And later on, I continued my PhD in operational excellence with focus on Lean Six Sigma application in healthcare from Heriot-Watt University. My experience ranged from different companies and locations. So before joining Merck, I used to live and work in the Canadian capital of Ottawa, working with KPMG Quality Registration Services. I also worked with British Standard Institution and with IBM as their quality manager. I joined Merck in 2004, became a partner in 2007. I focus on the operational excellence and quality offering. These are the areas I'm very interested in, and I've practiced them as a practitioner. as a consultant and as a trainer. So this is where I want to share some of my experiences in applying these methodologies. Now, why are we discussing this topic? The need of the discussion basically stems from the fact that in doing continual improvement and applying these approaches, we require a structured methodology. We require a clear roadmap that will guide us to organize resources, to put the teams together and ensure that we have a well-defined projects. Many of the failures I've seen when we implement projects in continual improvement comes from the fact that there is no clear map, there is no clear methodology. Hence, the importance of our discussion becomes really important in terms of applying what a structured methodology is all about. Now, just to clear a couple of things. Quality did not really start as we see it today. Quality has become now one of the pillars in organizations in terms of what we call the holistic approach or the total quality management. It started with the inspection mindset or mentality, where focus was on the finished product. Of course, this evolved to become more of in-progress testing, in-progress product focus, where quality control or QC became well known. That was complemented with a focus on processes and products in the same time. So that became or made available what we call the quality assurance or QA. Of course, the totality of quality became a focus where organizations became more involved, focusing on their employees, on their suppliers, and a number of tools that activated the totality, which basically gave the name total quality management. So what's happening right now? We see now a blend of total quality management and quality 4.0. So quality 4.0 comes from the industry 4.0, where we focus on what we call the new concept that we see all the time now coming into industries, from the artificial intelligence, big data, machine learning, Internet of Things. And this is now becoming a must in terms of skills that we need to apply for our quality professionals. So methodologies, of course, will come in and guide us, but where should we focus our methodologies? Where should we, are we mature enough as an organization to start applying some of these methodologies? So this quality maturity ladder infographic gives us a little bit of where can you measure where do you stand today. For example, you might be looking at what we call the inspection mentality or mindset, which is a reactive mindset where you wait for things to happen and then you can react. Then you have moving up in the ladder, you start to think about stabilizing your system, maybe applying some of the well-known standards. For example, ISO 9001 is and still a very good standard to start building that foundation. And then the organization will start activating the role of teams, measuring the cost of poor quality, and applying continual improvement tools and methodology, which puts us at a stage which we refer to as the incremental improvement. As we get into more revolution in our mindset, we're starting to think about re-engineering, total quality management, Six Sigma, and lean methodologies. So which methodology is best for your organization? I think you need to sit with your team internally and decide where do we stand today in terms of the maturity. Yes, you can jump. However, there is a risk. When you start with advanced methodologies, when you don't have the process language embedded within your organization, you might run the risk of failure, as I have seen in some organizations. So to move forward, building this methodology, what we refer to as the continuous improvement process, requires you to have a number of items in place. For example, we need maybe something to generate ideas for improvement. I call it the idea generation systems that will invite employees and keep them motivated to submit ideas. These ideas for improvement will then transition into our what we call quality story methodology, and then we can use the appropriate methodology to try to get some results. So the company has to think of what is the right methodology to actually run their continual improvement and generate and apply the ideas that come from the employees. And hence, it's a good idea now to start discussing some of these methodologies that are available for us. They're widely used in different organizations. Some of them tends to be more qualitative. Some of them tends to be more quantitative. They require a number of tools that can be discussed, and they require the team participation. So one of the, of course, the ideas that we discuss all the time, that continual improvement is what we refer to as Kaizen. So Japanese refer to it as the Kaizen mentality, or the change for the good. And of course, the Plan, Do, Check, Act, originally developed by Dr. Schuhart and then later on refined by Dr. Deming, became one of the well-known methodologies for improvement. Physicians, they use it at their workplaces. Continual improvement practitioners, they use it in their workplaces. So what happened is Toyota, one of the leading organizations focusing on applying some of these methodologies, they took this methodology and they said, why not give it our own name? So it became known as what we refer to as the A3 methodology. So the continual improvement in this case, it's about committing the top management, the staff, to start working on these methodologies and achieve better customer service, lower cost, and to try to reduce defects and delays and variation within their operations. So when we think about these different methodologies, you know, any practitioner or researcher that will go and look at these methodologies, they will tend to see a common flavor within these methodologies. So if you look here at some of the well-known methodologies that have been used, you know, starting from the scientific methods in the 1620s, moving to the PDCA, Plan, Do, Check, Act, to the A3, to the DMAIC methodology that we will talk about, and then the AD as well, you will look at the concepts that they need us to discuss when we run any methodology, and you tend to see common ideas. For example, you can see that in any methodology at the beginning, you need to start thinking about planning, i.e. defining, clarifying the problem, putting the team together, putting the problem statement, scoping. These are some of the things that we might do at the define stage, for example, in DMAIC, where we provide or we put together the project charter. Measuring. Some of the methodologies are very big on data collection, measuring, gathering data. To what extent can you go with the data? Do you want qualitative, quantitative? So again, it depends on the methodology focus and what they want to do in terms of that methodology. So what we will do next, we will look at some of these methodologies, the Plan, Do, Check, Act, or the A3, the DMAIC, and the AD, just to look at what do these methodologies present to us. Of course, we're doing a high-level overview. Details, you know, can be discussed in many of our training courses, where we give people the tools, we discuss examples, and we take them through the ABC of how do we do them. But if you think about them, they're all structured problem-solving processes, right? It's about describing the problem. It's about identifying the root causes, and then it's about collecting information or analyzing it. And then looking at countermeasures, where you basically apply them, you verify them, and then you put together the validation plan and the standardization solution. So they all, you know, roam around the same concept, but now we will see different methods on how this is done. So the first one is the well-known Plan, Do, Check, Act, PDCA. And as you can see, any project will start with planning. Now, in terms of problem solving, we need to start looking at what do we plan or what do we define. So in terms of the problem solving and the methodology that we want to use, we want to start looking at the 4 phases that you see in front of you. So the planning is about defining again the problem, collecting documentation, and it goes all the way to the root cause analysis. So we will see this generic problem solving methodology put into what we call the A3. So what do they call it? A3. Toyota came in and they said, let's teach our staff to think in this A3 methodology, which is basically a problem solving. They can look at any of their problems at their work, and they can put this format, which is the A3 paper size, and then they can present it to us. So that becomes the unified language for problem solving, teaching people how to start doing it. So what's in the A3? You can look at any A3 sheet, and then you can put it together into these phases: the plan, do, check, act. Now, again, the structure, the layout is not as important as the work itself. You can always change the structure within the A3. You can create 3 columns if you want. It's up to you, but as long as you contain or you mention all these elements within your discussion. So what are these elements that we're interested in? So we have a sample here of A3, and you can see the plan section where you have this section. All this section is basically the plan section where you discuss what are we trying to solve, the problem solving, the problem statement, sorry, what is happening, is there a gap between the target and the actual? So what is the pain? I would like to know the pain so we can proceed with that problem. Of course, when you have data, that will be very helpful because we can use then facts, figures, charts, and graphs to justify why we're doing it. And it gives us that baseline of the problem that we're trying to solve in our methodology. We continue to start our RCA, root cause analysis, using some of the available tools. Of course, one of the well-known tools that Toyota have used is the 5Y, but you can use other tools from the fishbone to the YY. Basically, it's getting the team engaged to discuss why is this happening. Once the root cause or root causes are identified, then we can move to the countermeasures and start putting a clear action plan. Of course, responsibilities, authorities, resources are defined here, implemented, so we can come back and we can check whether the problem has disappeared, verified and supported by data. If that is happening, then we can close the project in this A3 methodology. Of course, if there is any deviation, you need to go back and revisit your statement, visit your data and your RCA, because it is possible that you have not identified the true root cause in this A3. So basically, the A3 follows the Plan, Do, Check, Act, and that is a well-known methodology that many industries have started using it. In the healthcare, they use the Plan, Do, Check, Act. They use something else with it. They call it Focus Dash PDCA. So you can see it a lot maybe in hospitals where they put it on the boards and they can publish their stories on how to do the improvement. Of course, the Plan, Do, Check, Act has been developed, and of course that takes us into the methodology of Six Sigma. So the Six Sigma here comes in and looks at sort of a data-driven methodology where we follow the same protocol in PDCA, but they came up with their own expanded discussion or methodology name, and they refer to it as the DMAKE: define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. And it can be traced back to the days of Frederick Gauss, but in our modern history, Motorola has been responsible for initiating this methodology, followed by the backup from GE and Jack Welch, and that became a methodology that has been used now for thousands of organizations in different sectors. Here in the Middle East, we've implemented it in many of the organizations from oil and gas, banking sectors, manufacturing, and in departmental as well, at departmental levels from HR, IT as well. So we do offer our courses to certify and train people to become what we refer to as the belts. So yellow belts, green belts, black belts, which refer to the training level of these practitioners that can apply the lean and the Six Sigma approach. And basically, again, it is a methodology that focuses on the data side of projects. So what we need to do, we need to define the problem. So D is for define, and then we go to the measure where we need to collect data. And then we go to the analyze, where we use a number of tools, statistical, analytical, and then we focus on the improve, which basically handles the root cause that we have realized or revealed in the analyze. Once we have improved, then we move to the last step, which is control at our project, and we close the project accordingly. So again, it's a very structured, it's process focused, data driven. It focuses again on the customer. We tend to select processes that are customer driven, and it focuses on the defects and variation in our processes and in our companies. So it is a problem solving methodology again, but it has its own language that we teach in our training courses. You know, what is the Six Sigma, what is 3 Sigma, what is 2 Sigma, what is this goal of achieving 3.4 defects per million opportunities? How do we do the calculations? How do you use software like Minitab and other softwares to try to make our life easier, especially when we get into heavy data manipulation and you know, trying to understand any problem in a visual way. So basically, we try to transform problems into statistical models, into histograms, into control charts to understand what is the variation and how does it correspond with the variation that the customer can tolerate, or what we refer to in Six Sigma as critical to quality, or the Ys that we try to measure. So there's a little bit of statistical analysis and knowledge needed in this type of a methodology, and people can use it, as we said, within the methodology that you see in front of you, which is called the define, measure, analyze, improve, and control, which we refer to as the DMAIC for short. So well-known methodology, very successful, as we said, requires training, requires to get the team to understand what you're trying to do. So in summary, the Six Sigma methodology is about customer focus. It's about projects, it's about statistical tools. Senior management has to be involved and supportive. And then it is about money and how we can show the savings in our projects. So this methodology, and that then we go to the third methodology, which is simple. It can again take the team into the story of how to develop or how to apply problem solving and continual improvement. So we can start looking at what we refer to as the 8 steps to apply it. Now, I know Ford, a company Ford has developed, has their own, which they call the 8D. Maybe similar. If you look at it and you compare it with this one, you'll find similarities. But again, what is this 8D? It's all about following a roadmap where we start with the selecting and defining the problem, putting down what is the pain that we're looking at, and then forming the team. And team formation could be a challenge in many organizations, forming the right team, the team with the right skills that we need, moving to the measure and collecting of data again, analyzing for root causes, putting the actions or countermeasure, checking that we have done it right, and then standardizing and controlling, and then closing, conclusion, and celebration. So each of these steps when we go to the details, you can see here that in these slides, they're explained. First, it's the selecting and defining the problem. And then why is this problem important to our strategy, to our customers? And then we move to some questions we can ask at that level. So we actually, in our training courses, we dwell on this, we discuss it in detail, we give examples, we ask people to do their own maybe 8-step analysis. We teach them a little bit on some of the tools, because remember, when we do some of these methodologies, you need to have the tools in place. You need to have the knowledge of how to conduct a process mapping, flow charting, Paretos, how to design a project charter. So all of this is usually discussed in more detail in our training courses. As we said, the next step is about forming the team and selecting the right people to your team with their knowledge. So some tools that we can use at this stage. And then we can go to the third step, which, as you see here, is measuring and data collection. So we discuss different types of data, different tools that we can measure. So again, this is time consuming because we have to explain all of this to our participants in our training courses. Analysis is another step that will dive into the analysis of the root causes of the problem, creating several hypotheses, testing them. So you've got here a number of tools that can be used, whether qualitative or quantitative, to reveal the root cause. A number of tools are available for us in this section. Moving to step 5 is the action. It's what do we need to do to eliminate the root cause? So again, you can create different methods for your evaluation, for your decision making, and compare between the different solutions that can prevent. I think we're interested here in preventing rather than fixing the root cause that we have revealed. Of course, after you've done the action, you are ready to go to the checking, where you check what has happened, how can you compare before and after, and collect data to understand that the corrective action or the preventive action has really implemented or has really improved the process that we are checking. Step 7 is we go and we standardize, we create maybe new procedures, we add more training. It is about making sure that this problem will not happen again, and we have the right protocol to ensure that it will not happen through new standards, through communication, through training as well. And then we don't forget to come to the 8th step, which is the conclusion, evaluation, and then celebration. So all these activities basically are here to develop a quality story that can be documented as well in these 8 steps templates, which we provide in our training courses, and then teams can work on it and get things going to develop that. So what we've done here, we've looked at different methodologies. They're all similar to continual improvement. As you have noticed, we looked at the Plan, Do, Check, Act. We looked at the Six Sigma methodology, and then we looked at the 8-step methodology. Some of these methodologies are data-driven. Some of them require less data focus. We can use qualitative analysis, but all of them require top management support, and they will require teams and staff to be working with us on these methodologies. So again, I've seen lots of these methodologies succeed. They do very well. I've seen also some of them that fail because of the lack of commitment, the lack of team engagement in these methodologies. As I mentioned, we at Merck provide many of these courses that basically focus on problem solving or methodologies for Six Sigma or Lean on the other hand. So many of our courses will dive into these specific methodologies with examples and applications where people and participants will leave with tools they can go back to their companies and apply them in their environment. I do hope that you have enjoyed this quick webinar, and you can come back and watch it as many times as you wish. If you have any questions, let me know. You can send them on the chat right now, or you can email us in the future for any questions. Yes, one of the top questions is, what does it take to make these methodologies succeed? I think the number one here is the top management support and commitment. Second is the awareness and training of the staff who will apply it and their knowledge of the tools. And don't forget that we need to have that mindset to change and to improve. If you have these factors already in place, you're in a good place to start looking at applying these methodologies, learning about them, and getting the benefits of these well-known and tested methodologies. In conclusion, thank you very much. I hope you've enjoyed the webinar, and we look forward to seeing you on future sessions. So I'll just stop now, and thank you very much. We will see you on future webinars.